I never was a popular kid. I never had an origami haircut. I don't care if I'm misleading. I'm tired of believing. My name is Mark Eriksen. I'm from a town called Baldwin on Long Island in New York. I've been playing music for as long as I can remember. At a young age, I mean, we've always had instruments around the house. I had a very musically influential family. My parents didn't really play. I think my mom played a bit of piano, but other than that, I mean, I had uncles and aunts that all played music, and just older siblings too. You know, my older brother had a drum set, and I took fondly to that when I was very young, and started playing drums and got really good quick. And I was playing in bars as early as 8 years old. My two older brothers, and even at like around the age of 15 and stuff, I was in a band with them. I was in a band with them for basically my whole childhood. And we got to a point, 15, 16 years old maybe I was playing up in Boston and Vermont, and to me, like, that's life on the road, you know, and it was funny. I thought it was a big deal, you know, but I was also missing out on a lot of things that high schoolers want to do, like hanging out with friends and parties on the weekend. It was a difficult time, so I didn't really want to do it anymore. Like around 17, I called it quits, and I was playing guitar at that time. Like, as soon as you start playing guitar, you want to write music, so I was writing songs and stuff at that point, and I'd done nothing with them other than the few songs we did with Elvis Nixon that I wrote. So at that point, I started recording my first few solo albums that I didn't even really release. I just kind of recorded them for myself, just for sake of doing something with my music. At that time, my friend Pat, who had a short little stint in Elvis Nixon, actually called me up one day, and he said, hey, I just joined a new band, how do you feel about singing? I was like, oh, I've always been behind the drum set, and the only thing I did was mostly shouting from behind the drum set. But I said, yeah, definitely, I'm in. And immediately just started writing songs for them. We had a band called Useless to Me, and that was like our first real band, me and Pat. Even throughout that time, I was still writing like solo material that I just didn't feel like it was for the band. I felt like it was more of a, you know, singer-songwriter thing, you know. And at the time, like I said, I had recorded albums before. I knew how to play all the instruments, so it was easy for me. But with those bands, I mean, it was weird for me getting on stage just holding a microphone. Like, I was uncomfortable. It didn't feel natural for me to just be holding a microphone or singing into a microphone. Like, I really wanted to play guitar. And I felt more comfortable. I felt like there was emotion in the guitar while I was singing. Felt it was easier to sing holding the guitar. But that's when, at the time, I was working at a music school down in Long Beach, and I met a couple of people teaching down there as well that started writing songs with, and that's how my band Pigeon formed. That's when I kind of put the stop to Useless to Me, and I felt bad about it. I mean, I felt terrible. I was my good friend Pat, who I've been playing music with my whole life. You know, I felt like I was letting him down, you know, and I didn't want to, but I just have the feeling there anymore, you know. It wasn't the same that it was. Pigeon just took off from there. So while I was doing Pigeon, I felt the same way, though. I still always had songs that just didn't fit that genre or that band or that sequence. So I was always just writing solo material and still recording. And not much. I mean, I put out a couple of solo albums. I actually did release one under a pseudonym, but the other one, by the second one, I just said, screw it, I'll just use my real name. I don't know what I'm hiding behind. I mean, I started focusing more back on my solo stuff more recently, you know, and just wanting to get those songs out, because those songs mean the world to me, you know. That's me at a whole. Like, I'm playing every instrument, the emotions behind every single every single thing you're hearing on those albums and on just when I'm playing them live. You know, there's a whole emotion behind it that's just me, and you could feel it in the music. Other than just hearing the words, you're feeling it with the music. As far as influences, friends, family, life, you know, of course, are all big influences, but musical influences, I mean, I grew up on the Beatles, which I feel like everybody did. Like, everybody grew up on the Beatles. But mostly for me, it was John Lennon, but my big influence with the Beatles was George Harrison. His solo career, especially, was exceptional, and just really amazing music, beautiful lyrics, and he just really had a way with writing. I mean, Pigeon was a little bit of a heavier band, more like Nirvana, Thrice meets Radiohead influence. I think you could sense maybe a little bit of Dustin Kensher in my solo stuff too. I was also a big fan of Daniel Johnston, mostly because he was weird, and his just originality behind his music, it was different. You know, it was a lot different than everything else you were really hearing. A little bit of Laura Stevenson, believe it or not. Definitely a bit of Frank Turner, and a lot Joey Cape. Joey Cape from Bad Astronaut, Lagwagon was a big influence on my solo writing. A little bit of Scott Weiland. Definitely loved a lot of his solo stuff. It was a little bit weird, and I just liked his diversity. Very different. It was a very David Bowie thing, where like you could hear 3 David Bowie songs and it sounds like 3 different people singing them, you know, and I always loved that because I felt like I could sound like different people sometimes on my songs. My biggest, probably, Noel Gallagher. Noel Gallagher, even, I mean, like I said, I had older siblings growing up in the 90s, and big thing for me was Oasis, you know. Oasis became really relevant to me at an early age, and always loved Noel Gallagher. His solo career really just shows he still got it. He was just meant to write music. The past 5 years of my life, I was actually a garbage man, picking up garbage, because I got out of college, and I was doing these small band things, but nothing really paid bills, and I realized, alright, I gotta get a job now. And first application I put in was to a sanitation district on the island, and got the job. Week later, uniform, everything, out on the back of the trucks, and it could have been the best job, and it was the worst job some days, and it would just really took a toll on me, and it took a toll on my music. Like, I stopped paying attention so much to the music. I just became someone that I hated. It wasn't someone that I sought out to be in my life, and I really wanted to get myself back on the page, so I just left. After 5 years, I said, I can't do this anymore. And I called up my grandfather, who owns a boatyard down in Oceanside, and said, hey, I've worked there on and off my whole life. So it was a familiar job in a familiar realm. So I just asked him if they needed help building docks over the winter and working the travel lift and the forklifts, you know, and he took me right back on, and I just was able to concentrate. My mind was at ease again, you know, like I was doing something that I wasn't as upset with, you know. I was happy. I'm using my hands, and I'm being more creative, and it just gave my music a boom again, you know, and it gave me that push to just go, you know. It's the biggest thing. It's a release, you know, from reality. You know, it's therapeutic. You know, it's so easy for me. Like, I can open up without feeling like I am, you know, burdening anybody with my problems. And it's a way of just getting things off my chest that's enjoyable. You know, most important, it's my life, and I love it. Sometimes that's what it comes down to.